Friends, welcome to the car project. I think y'all are going to have a really good time with this one. And essentially what we're going to be doing is taking a car like this and seeing how far we can get it to travel, among many other different challenges. But before we can do that and get into all the fun stuff, you know we have to tell you a little bit more about the project background. Did you know that the wheel is considered one of the most important inventions of all time? I mean, think about it. Think about how many moving objects use wheels to get around. It makes sense, right? But we've come so far from those horse-powered carriages that they used to use in the old days. Quick side note, have you ever heard that term thrown around before, horsepower? That's literally how they used to measure how much power it took to do a task, how many horses it took. Nowadays, we have a little bit better ways to measure power, and the engines you'll find in today's cars, well, those single engines are about as powerful as a couple hundred horses. So the first modern automobile was actually invented in Germany and in Spain around the late 1800s, but the United States wasn't too far behind, and we were actually the ones who made them accessible to everybody. And it's just crazy to look at the evolution from the first automobile to kind of what they started playing around with the Model T, and then now to where they're experimenting with electric cars, which we'll actually touch on in a future project coming up. I just mentioned the Model T. Have you ever heard of it? It was actually built by the Ford Motor Company, and why it's so important is, you see, before only the rich people could afford cars, and it took companies forever to make them. But what Ford came up with was a way to make them really fast and sell them pretty cheap, and that gave the average person the ability to buy a car. And with a growing country and a growing economy, you can imagine the impact that it had. Now you have people driving on the street around cars, and it really laid a seed for a huge industry of cars. And now they're being made and innovated from all around the world. So that's a little bit of the background behind cars, and some of those original car makers are still around today, like Ford, like Mercedes, but now there's so many new ones. And what does the future look like? Well, a big part of that is up to you guys, but the writing is on the wall, right? Electric cars seem to be the future, and that's what everybody's talking about, and for good reason. We're going to show you guys why electric cars are being experimented with and invested in so heavily in the next video. And we can't wait to hear any of your thoughts or answer any questions after you have a chance to check it out. And by the time we wrap up this project, friends, we just want you to be able to, talk knowledgeably about these cars that we see every single day in our lives. We want you to learn kind of the science and the engineering about how they work and put it to use when you build a good project for yourself. And finally, you're just going to be able to get a chance to hear from a professional in the field who does this stuff for a living. So thanks for sticking around with us. We appreciate it, and we can't wait to get started on the car project with everyone.